Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to today's episode of the Cosmopolitan Series. In today's episode of the Cosmopolitan Series, we want to discuss the recent happening in the church. And this recent happening has to do with the Pope's statement on homosexuality. On the 21st of October 2020, during an interview, the Pope made a statement that homosexuals have the right to be in a family and that there is a need to establish a law, that would ensure the safety, that will ensure the welfare and the fair treatment of homosexuals in the world. Unfortunately, this same statement by the Pope has been misinterpreted by different persons. Even journalists of high repute have misinterpreted the statement of the Pope, stating that the Pope is actually supporting or promoting the act of homosexuality in the world. Shortly, I want to take us briefly through what the newspapers, what the news lines in the world are saying about the Pope's statement. And then when we come back, we'll now critically analyze the statement of the Pope to actually find out if the Pope is actually supporting homosexuality, or is he canvassing for a fair treatment of the homosexuals.
In what was his most explicit endorsement of same-sex partnership, Pope Francis endorsed same-sex civil unions for the very first time. In a documentary called Francesco, in the film, the head of the Catholic Church urged for a civil union law that would allow LGBTQ+ people to be in a family. The Pope said, and I quote, "They are children of God and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable over it." What we have to create is a civil union law.
So following the major news from the Vatican tonight, Pope Francis voicing support for same-sex civil unions, the first pope in history to do so. The Pope saying homosexual people have the right to be in a family, that they are children of God. Here's our foreign correspondent, James Longman, tonight.
Tonight, an historic shift from the leader of an ancient institution. Pope Francis becoming the first pope in the Catholic Church's 2,000-year history to endorse civil unions for gay couples.
This is a man who cries with humanity.
In the new documentary, Francesco, the Pope says homosexual people have a right to be in a family. They are children of God and have a right to a family. It's a major departure from the position of the Vatican's own doctrinal office. The Pope adding, "What we have to create is a civil union law. That way they are legally covered. I stood up for that." The pontiff has called for civil unions in the past, but before he became pope.
Las personas homosexuales tienen derecho a estar en la familia. Son hijos de Dios, tienen derecho a una familia. No se puede echar de la familia a nadie, ni hacer la vida imposible por ese. Lo que tenemos que hacer es una ley de convivencia civil. Tienen derecho a estar cubiertos legalmente.
Welcome back. We've seen what the various news headlines are saying about the Pope's statement on homosexuality. And the last video you saw is the video of the interview which was conducted in Spanish language for the Pope. Now, this video was wrongly, interpreted in terms of stating that the fact that the Pope is actually supporting a civil union law for homosexuals. To help us understand the actual intent of the Pope through those statements that were made by him during the interview, we visited the Dominican University and we interviewed the Vice Chancellor of the Dominican University, a great theologian, an astute writer when it comes to matters relating to the church. So I want us to sit tight and listen to what he has to say about the Pope's statement on homosexuality.
First of all, when it comes to the medium used by the Catholic Church to put across her teaching, It's not a documentary that is used. What we call the teaching office of the church, the magisterium, teaches by issuing statements in a format that everyone will be able to recognize, or at least those who are familiar with the Catholic Church will be able to recognize that at this point, this is what the church is teaching. The church does not make a statement on her doctrinal or ethical stance by way of a documentary where the producer does a cut and paste approach. That will take some of those statements out of their context. Secondly, Pope Francis, and this is very important, Pope Francis has not changed the position of the Catholic Church on same-sex marriage. It has not changed. At the same time, you have to look at the issue of the human dignity of the people involved. You know, there is a tendency on the part of people to lump together the morality of an action and the dignity of the person who is acting. St. Augustine has a saying that you have to differentiate, you have to separate love of sinner from hatred for his sin. The position of the Catholic Church is that homosexual acts are sinful. But there are people who have same-sex orientation. That orientation in itself does not make them evil, doesn't make them bad. It's the action. And unfortunately, there are people who would demonize such people. There are people who would refuse to recognize their human dignity. They are human beings, irrespective of what you say, irrespective of your moral stance regarding their action. They are human beings. They should be treated as human beings. There's something the Pope is saying, that such people have a right to belong to the family, because there are some families disowning their own children, haven't found out that they are homosexual. Pope Francis is saying no. They're human beings, and as human beings, they have a right to belong to a family. So two things here. The Catholic Church's position has not changed. Pope Francis has not changed the position of the Catholic Church on same-sex marriage. Pope Francis is saying the human dignity of people who are in same-sex unions should be respected, and that there is even a need to have a legislation. That's the expression civil union, which is not a good translation of what was said in Spanish in that interview. That there may be need for a legislation to protect the human dignity of people who are living in such a relationship. You may frown at the relationship, but you don't dehumanize such people. Very simple statement. Unfortunately, there's a mob mentality in our world. You want to dehumanize somebody because of what the person is doing. That is wrong. If God had done that to us, nobody would have been forgiven.
So thank you very much, Father, for that simple and very precise way of addressing the issues. The last question I would like to ask is, now that the Pope has been, misinterpreted, what do you think should be done? Are we expecting, a counter, statement from the Pope to clear the grounds, or should it just die down the way it is right now?
It doesn't have to come from the Pope. It may come from anybody, and it's like what I'm doing in this interview to clarify what is being said. And before I said this, there have been some other Catholic news outlets that have done so. The Catholic News Service has done so. There have been people who wrote to explain what is being said here. If the Pope will have to respond to every misinterpretation of his statements, he's not going to have anything. He's not going to have time to do any other thing. Not just the Pope. When you're in a position of leadership, position of authority, you must expect that from time to time your position, your statement will be misinterpreted. And you may not necessarily be the one to go about, run about trying to correct it. There are people who are trained to do that. That's the task of theologians in the church. There are Catholic journalists who are trained to do that, and that has been done. There's so many writings on the internet. I've just mentioned Catholic News Service, which anybody can Google, trying to say, despite the sensational reporting that you get from the CNN, New York Times, for example, suggesting or insinuating that Catholic position on same-sex marriages have taken place or has changed. That is not the case. In fact, people may need to read previous statements by this Pope, particularly when he was Archbishop of Buenos Aires. There he was very much against what people call homosexual marriage, and he said categorically there is no such thing, that marriage is between a man and a woman. So you cannot speak of a same-sex union as a marriage, that it is a misuse of words. I think that is sufficient for anyone who wants to know the position of Pope Francis on same-sex unions.
All right, thank you very much, Father, for your time. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We've heard it all from Reverend Father Professor Akinwale Martins that the Pope's stand on homosexuality has not changed, meaning that the church stand on homosexuality has not changed. The summary of the whole thing is that condemn the sin, but do not condemn the sinner. Condemn the sin, but do not condemn the sinner. The Catholic Church, in her wisdom, has continually condemned the act of homosexuality all over the world. But that does not mean that those who actually commit this act should, be discarded, should be treated badly, or should be stoned to death. So what the Pope actually meant by his statement is that homosexuals have the right to be in their family, have the equal rights with every other members of their family. So ladies and gentlemen, this is just to correct the impression that is circulating around the world that the Pope is supporting the act of homosexuality. He is not supporting homosexuality, but he is canvassing for a fair treatment of those actually in the act, hoping that one day they would change and retrace back their ways. Thank you very much for tuning in with us on today's episode of the Cosmopolitan Series. Continue to follow us on Instagram, continue to follow us on Facebook, and in case you've not subscribed to our YouTube channels, please you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to be kept informed of each videos we make. Just to inform us that the Cosmopolitan Series is here to help us correct the wrong impressions, to help us stop the dissemination or the flow of wrong informations across the world. Be an ambassador of good message. Be an ambassador of correct and verifiable information. And this is what the Cosmopolitan Series is here to help us achieve. Thank you very much for watching, and please tune in with us again on Monday. Bye.
Hello everyone, this is Cosmopolitan Series. Please do well to always watch every Monday. Thank you, bye.
Yo, it's your girl Grace Joe. This is Cosmopolitan Series. Continue to watch and subscribe every Monday. Don't miss it.
Hey, good morning viewers. This is Cosmopolitan Series once more. Continue to subscribe, continue to watch, continue to view every Monday. Thank you. Bye.
Hello viewers, this is Cosmopolitan Series, so keep watching Cosmopolitan Series where we discuss life issues every Monday. Do well to subscribe. Bye.